And when we brought up the inheritance tax, people said, why are you doing that? It's just going to impact a few people who are real wealthy. Well, that's really not true.
This is an important day for Tennessee. It means family farms like this one that have been in the same family for over 100 years have a lot better chance of staying in the family. With Tennessee's inheritance tax the way it was, too many families were land rich but cash poor, and so when there was a death in the family, they were forced to sell the family farm. And this ending the inheritance tax in Tennessee, we think, can make a big difference.
And with his ceremonial signature on ending the state's inheritance tax, the governor and the legislature marked a successful year for the majority of the issues followed by Farm Bureau in this last session of the 107th General Assembly. There were several priority issues that were approved in our favor, but none perhaps more important than eliminating the death tax.
It's very important to family farmers and small businesses. As of 2016, there will be no more state inheritance tax in the state of Tennessee, and this will be a godsend. We like to see some common sense legislation every now and then. This is definitely common sense legislation. We really appreciate the legislature and the governor. Appreciate the governor coming out here to my farm to sign it.
Have you farmed your whole life?
Yes, sir.
This was an interesting bill in that you really did have Republicans and Democrats throughout this part of West Tennessee. Literally every lawmaker signed on to it, Republican and Democrat. And I think one of the reasons is that we had organizations, whether it be a Farm Bureau or a National Federation of Independent Business, who were saying this matters. And so when you can put a face on it, when you can put a local farmer's face on the issue or a small business and their impact, well, that helps us sell it, because the argument against it was, well, this just affects a few wealthy people. But when you come see the farmers and others it really does affect, then that helps our legislators to know the right thing to do.
There's a broad movement really in the states to repeal these taxes. I mean, Tennessee's not alone in the repeal of the death taxes, and I think we'll see more and more states repealing it, and hopefully the feds will catch up with us.
Besides the eventual death of the state inheritance tax, Farm Bureau was also successful in passing major tax reform that eliminates the gift tax.
That also is important, especially with farmers and a number of people, that where they could, presently the law shows they only can give $13,000 as a gift tax-free every year. Well, if a farmer had 500 or 600 acres of land, then now he'll be able to give. It doesn't have to be cash money. They also can give property and real property and things of that nature.
Those were all successes. Successes on the tax reform bills, though, didn't just happen overnight. They were years in the making, and they were the direct result of the grassroots efforts of our volunteer leaders. The Tennessee farmer was the face of the inheritance tax reform in the state. But we also had several other successes this year, including we restored the funding of the West Tennessee River Basin Authority. We streamlined the state's beef checkoff structure that allows one board to oversee both the federal and the state portion of the checkoff. We established a state fair commission within the Department of Agriculture. And we established penalties for those that are transporting and releasing wild hogs around the state. We also added a farmer member to the newly revamped TWRA Commission. And we strengthened our trespass laws to give even more protection to landowners.
You've got trespassers who are not allowed on the property. Sometimes they're even criminally trespassing, and they come onto your farmland and they get hurt, and some lawyers out there are trying to sue the landowner in that instance to hold you responsible for the injury that occurred to somebody who wasn't even supposed to be on your property in the first place. This type of law has crept into the law in other states, and with the Trespasser Responsibility Act, we have ensured that this will not creep into the law in Tennessee.
And as in most years, there was unfinished legislation that we expect will return. One of those was the controversial gun issue, which stirred up property rights concerns among landowners. And Farm Bureau members and others will be looking to find a balance between these two important constitutional rights.
I'm with you on the issue.
And the success of our organization on these issues continues to rely on our volunteer leaders. And therefore, membership into the Farm Bureau has never mattered more.
First of all, Madam Speaker and distinguished members of this body.
But the Farm Bureau is probably the most respected entity in the halls of the legislature. There's a lot of good people down here. You know, I don't have my insurance from Farm Bureau. I'm a Farm Bureau member, And I'm glad to pay those dues each year because I know they're going to a good cause. Anyone that's listening to this and you live on a farm and you don't belong to Farm Bureau, you're making a tragic mistake. You need to join it because these folks are down here making a difference. If there's a bill that's hurting farmers, we know about it. It's not going to slip by. They're really vigilant about watching what's going on and what can impact farmers, and so that's some of the best money you can spend joining the Farm Bureau to make sure that we got representatives here in Nashville to make sure we're not making a mistake.
Hey, buddy. How are you doing?
Oh, membership does matter, and I think we may be the voice that's there in Nashville, but the real strength behind that voice is what our members are saying out in the counties and out across the state.